Elon Musk is continuing his feud with Mark Zuckerberg, calling the Meta founder a cuck on Twitter over the weekend in response to a tweet critiquing Twitter rival Threads content moderation policies. He later added, quote, he said this, I propose a literal dick measuring contest. There we go.
Yeah, with the ruler emoji and everything. Threads reportedly hit over 100 million users this morning, less than a week after its launch. For reference, Twitter has about 400 million users. Now, there was an article that got published in CNBC talking about how not only has Meta grown at a very rapid rate, but that Twitter traffic has slowed since the launch of Meta, I believe down about 5% in the first couple of days of Threads launch, and Twitter is down 11% compared to these same days in 2022. Whether or not that's significant and whether or not that holds is an interesting question, but I think it is worth noting that Threads and Meta differs from some of the other attempts to compete with Twitter, because it is tied in with folks' Instagram accounts. People can launch Threads, follow all the people they follow automatically on Instagram, and feel like they have a feed that's populated with their interests immediately without having to generate it over time the way that people have done over on Twitter.
Yeah, I specifically didn't do that when I created my Threads because I didn't, the people I follow on Instagram, I don't follow them for their cogent political opinions, so I didn't want to follow them on Threads. But the problem really is that and people have added me automatically, or some people have added me. I've posted 2 threads, one of which was, hey, and I haven't really substantially contributed there yet. Yeah. But I have 600 followers, but I have 100,000 on Twitter, and and I have more on Instagram, more than on Threads, not as many as on Twitter. Yeah. So it's not like I can import my following onto this platform. No. So it would be a lot of, you're the so you have 300,000 Twitter followers. It would be a lot of work.
But that's the thing. Most people aren't super users of Twitter the way we are, and most Americans and most people in the world are not on Twitter whatsoever. Twitter has historically had one of the lowest shares of users of any of these apps.
Okay, but let's say you are a super user on Twitter. And why would you switch over to Threads?
Well, one of the points that's made in this CNBC article is that Threads is attracting people who were never on Twitter to begin with, who maybe you said that you're not as interested in Threads because you don't care about your Instagram followers' political opinions. There are people who were never on Twitter because they're not interested in political opinions at all, but they would be interested in having basically more like a Facebook feed or Facebook, wall type scenario where people that they like, celebrities and content creators and TikTokers or whoever, are speaking more than just talking through photos the way they are on Instagram. And I think this might create a whole new community that is useful in different ways, that doesn't replace Twitter per se, but is a place that's softer with less politics and more memes and more culture and more people who are normie.
PR statements from celebrities and corporations.
But there's some of that.
This does not sound enjoyable to me at all.
But there's also
if that's your thing, that can be your thing.
Look, at some point, just because we like Twitter, that we spend a lot of time on Twitter, we have to recognize that there is probably a reason why Twitter has never had as much market share as any of these other apps. It is not as accessible. Most people are not interested in politics to the extent that we are. And people want more diversity of stuff on their feed than what Twitter offers, which is a lot of politics-heavy content. And we're going to see over time what an app looks like if it's driven by different kinds of content creators. I don't know what's going to emerge as the culture of Meta, of Threads. But the fact that it is a Meta product and tied in with Instagram suggests to me that there will be a broader base of interest that might ultimately help the app succeed.
Yeah, there's been a lot of inclination or concern that it's going to be a very sanitized, or even censored is not exactly the right word, but as we discussed last week, concerns that it's already having a content moderation regime that is very hostile to different points of view. Which that if that's what the site's going to be, it's Zuckerberg's site. It can be like that. That's fine, but that's not really what I'm into, and what I think a lot of people just would like Twitter the way Elon said it was going to be. I don't know that he's substantially delivered on that, and in fact seems to have amplified a lot of highly specific right-wing accounts, such that it's become a conservative news organization, effectively. And that's his right to do that.
He can do that, but a lot of people aren't going to stick around for it. Frankly, the only reason I'm inclined to stick around for it is because I have put in the work and have an audience on Twitter. I wouldn't, if I were the average Twitter user, and again, the average Twitter user never tweets, has no followers, is mostly a passive observer, I would have no issue jumping ship. But perhaps we should talk about the spiciest aspect of all of this, which is that as much as he maybe is posturing as being unbothered, tweets like the one where he wants to have a manhood measuring contest with Zuckerberg do seem to suggest that
I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Don't say I got mad.
Exactly. I mean, having 400,000 followers, 400 million, I'm sorry, on Twitter versus 100 million on Threads already, that's pretty significant. This is very different than any other Twitter competitor that has existed to date. And we saw how apoplectic Elon Musk got over even the suggestion that Matt Taibbi would use Substack when Substack launched a similar feature, although one that was not competitive in any way to Twitter. He basically shut down the entire of the Twitter files and that important journalistic effort over a personal dispute with Matt Taibbi over that app. And now it seems like he's willing to expose himself in the name of challenging Mark Zuckerberg over this.
Yeah, he was trying to fight Mark Zuckerberg before. That seemed like healthier than the path we're going down now, or at least more entertaining than the path we're going down now.
I mean, what does it mean? I mean, can we just be frank for a second? We have the richest person in the world, a CEO of multiple technology companies, a father of 10, a man in his 50s, who is now engaging in this kind of behavior on social media. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to be a scold or tone police people or anything like that. He can do what he wants. But this is obviously a departure from what we consider to be normal, respectable behavior. And it is the kind of behavior that gets CEOs in trouble because stock price, public confidence, et cetera, does bear relationship to the perceived capability and stability of the leader of a company.
He's the head of a conservative media platform, and it is something that conservative viewers, et cetera, do seem to love, by the example of Donald Trump, who is similarly a chaotic performance, says crazy things like this. I mean, this is very Trumpian to me.
Wait a minute. Trump understands, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Trump understands the humor of innuendo. This is not innuendo. Let's get a ruler out and measure our stuff is weird and cringe. Trump says things like, DeSantis has small hands. You fill in the dots. You close the gap.
I mean, he said DeSantis might have been gay. He said all sorts of things.
I'm sorry, you don't think it is weird? Like, this is getting into a weird territory.
No, I do think it's weird, but I can't draw any distinction between it and the most popular figure on the right. This is just what the
day Donald Trump says, "I want to pull my pants down in public and put my private parts on a table
Little
next
Marco
to another
wasn't
CEO.
all about who has the bigger you-know-what?
That's called innuendo.
Okay.
Me saying I want to do a public anatomy session where we perhaps get some doctors involved or some experts and we prostrate our private parts in the public view and have a clinical measuring scenario, two CEOs hip to hip.
I mean, Trump certainly got his surrogates to, I can't believe we're talking about this,
this is so weird.
Comment on and say, check out the cojones on, like there was a lot of that kind of conversation.
This feels like an escalation to me. I don't know what to tell you. But if the people like it, the people like it. But a lot of other people are really liking, 100 million other people are really liking what's being offered over on the Threads app. So I'll be interested to see how that continues to develop and whether or not they're even really in competition. I think that is yet to be determined.
Maybe no social media app is the answer. Maybe just less everything. Spend some time out there drawing, getting exercise,
Robby
etc.
says touch grass.
That is what I'm saying.
We'll have to leave it there.
I guess so. Tomorrow on Rising, an interview with a Wuhan doctor reveals that early COVID cases were suppressed. We'll be talking about that new reporting from U.S. Right to Know, and you won't want to miss it.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
This is a great way to start the week. See you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.